episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. We won. Tonight you're joined by Ben. How are you, Ben? We'll go straight to Chris. Chris, how are you tonight?
£5 in the charity pot, that, Mr. McQuaid. We've been on mute on the Teams call. I'm good, mate. Yeah, you?
Good, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, back-to-back wins, so we can't complain. Not sure whether Ben was on mute or he's having some Wi-Fi issues because we were having a few technical issues before we went live. Ben, are you with us? Nope, he's not. Okie doke. We'll just allow Ben to do his thing and we'll say good evening to everybody in the chat. How are we all tonight? Looking quite busy so far.
Yeah.
We've got some regulars in, Chris.
Yeah, it's frenetic. Oh, wait, he's gone. He's had enough.
Yeah, we'll just let him try and sort his Wi-Fi out. Good evening, Radic Sleptai. How are you? Good evening, Leslie. Good evening, Jack. Good to have you here. David, of course, as ever, good evening. We'll obviously have to try and fill a little bit of airtime whilst Ben tries to sort his Wi-Fi out, but lovely to have you all with us tonight. Good evening, Lee. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let's go into a few of the comments so far, I guess. One being Matt. Did I just see a call say the words "can't complain"? Did I?
I think you did. Yeah.
In terms of the performance, Matt, is that what I was referring to? Or I guess that's where, yeah, you can't complain. You know, more than 2 wins on the bounce, can you? You know, back to winning ways and all that type of stuff. Or is he saying because I've been so negative recently? That's part of the problem.
That's what he's referencing. Yeah.
Yeah, I would suspect.
We all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've tried my very best to be positive. Ben's saying he should be all good now. So whilst Chris brings up the current comments, then we'll jump back and try and get Ben back on the show.
Hey.
How are you getting on, Ben?
Hello. Is that?
Hey.
Am I good? Yeah.
Yeah, you're all good.
Jordan, I may as well be on McDonald's Wi-Fi. It'd be better than this.
Yeah. This is the beauty, of course, of doing these wonderful episodes live. We do often have these technical glitches, but I think we should be back up and running. How are you, Ben, this evening?
Yeah, I'll try again. I'm all good. As you said, we've won again. So, yeah. Back to what we were last season, eh?
I did say can't complain, and I've been lynched already for that by our good friend Matt.
Oh, yeah. No complaining tonight. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Kelly. Good evening, Josh. Hello. Wonderful to have you all with us. We obviously played yesterday. We are now crawling up the table, as the title suggests. Episode 104 of the Fanzone podcast, which is an astonishing number. As I'm sure you can imagine, we are very, very, very proud of the fact that we're going strong, of course. Yesterday we picked up 3 vital points against Crawley Town. I reckon it's probably worth us having a little bit of a dissect to that in the old post-match reaction, sponsored by Johnson's Tiling. So as I touched upon, Wanderers won yesterday, comfortable 2-0, you might say. You may say somewhat of a plan B was used yesterday, possibly. Keen to get the thoughts of the 2 gentlemen on the panel tonight. I'll start with Chris. Chris, give me your reactions from yesterday's 3 points, please.
Tricky, really. I think you've got to be realistic about it, in the sense that the performance, whilst it is a great result, it's probably one of them that you talk about in the context of, oh, maybe we'd have lost that last season kind of games. But I didn't. It's just quite frustrating because we're almost trying to get back to where we were. Because obviously we've tried a new approach that's not worked, and now we're trying to get back to the same levels that we came from at the end of last season, if that makes sense. And we are making progress in that respect, but it's a little bit slow. I think Brandon's point, very well earned 3 points. Had to work hard for that. Crawley moved the ball just need a goal. They just need a goal scorer. They are very much a possession-based team, as we touched on in the preview show. Their possession statistics are phenomenal, and have been all season. It wasn't just Saturday. They are typically a 60-70% possession team against everybody and anybody. But for us to accept the fact that we weren't going to have our usual 50, 60, 70% of possession and get a victory out of it is quite reassuring, and it's a sign of adapting, I guess. So, but at the end of the day, 3 points are 3 points, and that's all that matters right now.
Absolutely. Ben, I know that you are somewhat of a, I hope you don't mind me saying this, a bit of a geek when it comes to the tactical part of the game. Is that fair to say? Yeah?
Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. One of the recognisable adjustments for me yesterday was the way in which we allowed Crawley to have the ball. Do you feel that was done deliberately due to the lack of, you might say, confidence as far as our team's concerned? Or do you think it was done tactically just because, like I think McAtee alluded to in his post-match reactions, that they planned on catching him in transition or as in old money on the counter-attack? Do you think which one of them two things you think, or maybe do you think it was a combination of the two?
I think it's a bit of both. I also think it's we've looked at how they've played, and obviously they dominate the ball. And it's funny because in the past, when we've gone away to a team, as Chris said, maybe a game we might have lost last year, if we've gone away to a team and not dominate the ball, sometimes we look a bit rattled and not kind of know what to do because we're so used to having the ball all the time. Yesterday just seemed the opposite, really. I thought I was actually really impressed at how we defended, how we didn't go like mad pressing to try and win the ball back like we usually do, because they probably would have just picked us off. Adebayo and Charles press like they usually do, but the midfield kind of sat off and the defense did as well. We just sat in our defensive third, and they genuinely didn't have a chance. There was never really worried at any point. Like a couple of times, Katerna got on the ball and turned it on a bit, but like apart from that, genuinely was never really worried. I mean, for the stat nerds out there, their expected goals was 0.24, I think it was, which basically means 24% of the time they'd score a goal in that game. So it'd take them 4 games worth of 90 minutes basically to create a goal scoring, like a meaningful goal scoring chance, which is, I mean, by far the lowest we've conceded all season. And it's just we don't do that very often. And we talked about a plan A 2.0 or plan B, whatever. And if that, like, obviously it's a start, it's one game, but if that is the plan when we go away from home, I'm more than happy to do that, because I think it suited us for the first 60 minutes to have Adebayo as the out ball. He didn't have his best game yesterday, but he still held it up like all right. There's a few times he could have played Charles through and he messed it up a bit. And then to have Collins and McAtee to come on with half an hour to go was absolutely perfect. Just played it how they did against Arsenal, and combined for the goal. It was inevitable.
I've just kept that up, that comment. Sorry, it cuts half of Ben's head off, but I just think it's a really, really valid point. Obviously, we talk about the same thing in so many different ways, and I think it's a nail on the head for me. And whichever it was, we need to be able to show teams that we can play a number of different ways. Makes us less predictable and less easy to play against. And I think that is, whether it's intentional or whether it's just a case of we're sort of readapting to how we used to play, which wasn't that long ago. And this is the sort of transitional period that we're in. But I think that's a really good point, that we had become predictable.
Do you not Yeah, sorry, Chris. Do you not feel that there's an element of Crawley might have into our hands a little bit in the way that they play? Because often when we play against teams, they don't want to play the ball as much as Crawley do. So that gives us the opportunity to play in that manner, doesn't it? We're not always going to, get given that, are we? Don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, it's but we would have done obviously. Well, we'd hope that we would have done our sort of due diligence before the game. David said, Callum alluded to the Crawley possession, and it was also spoken about in the preview show that they were a very, very possession-based team. So yeah, it definitely did. I think that's absolutely right. But I think I was just sick of reading it. People saying opposition managers have sussed us out, and to have something a little bit different in the locker, whether it be intentional or not, is it can never be a bad thing.
Yeah, we talked about it on the Arsenal preview with Clayton and saying how Arteta's evolved over the last few years, and he's gone from basically trying to play pep ball to now they are essentially an amazing defensive team and incredible at set pieces, and that's how they win their games. They've adapted to people figured out how they play. That's why they didn't win the league a couple of seasons ago. Now they've adapted and they look like probably the best team in the league at the minute. So at every level you have to adapt. You can't stay stale, and maybe that's what happened. And teams figured us out. Look, Des Buckingham gave the blueprint of how to beat us. It was either sit off us and let us have 70% of the ball and just sit in the box so we can't create, or don't let us have the ball and then we can't do it. Yesterday was neither.
No.
Yeah, I think with this point here from Jack, need an adaptable game though. Every game poses a different threat. We won't get away with giving Birmingham that amount of the ball. No, and I think it is. It's all about horses for courses, isn't it? And being able to set up differently, because that's certainly something we've not been able to do historically. So, and talking about Collins and McAtee, obviously that it's now becoming the equivalent of last season's Jerome and Bodvarsson, in the sense that it's a straight two swap.
Yeah.
But look at the difference in quality, with all due respect to Cameron Jerome and Yondadi, to have McAtee and Collins being that two that we turn to on 60, 70 minutes, as ever often does.
I think that's going to change as well throughout the season. I'll be honest. There's going to be quite a few instances where Dion will be on the bench and Vic will be on the bench and vice versa, and then it'll be mixed up completely. There's somewhat of an elephant in the room tonight to change the subject completely. Andy earlier on raised a point. Even all, what's your thoughts on Santos' wife's post? Now, no doubt we'll get into that later on in the episode, Andy. Obviously, I wanted to kind of reference that because I'm sure, as I say, it's somewhat of an elephant in the room, and I'm sure people will be thinking and probably wanting, more importantly, to talk about today's events. But yeah, good to get everyone's opinions on yesterday's performance. Professional was the word that I used to describe it. Excuse me. And I thought it was exactly that. Adapted, played a different way. Like I said, like Crawley to kind of eat into our own hands. I thought the back five, back six, if you include the goalkeeper, deserved a lot of credit yesterday. Talking about Rico, I thought it was phenomenal yesterday, back to his best, like Abbott said. But also special shout outs as well to the two fullbacks. Thought Cogley and Sean were great. It's probably Sean's best game yesterday. So there's a lot of positives yesterday. Clean sheets huge, as you can imagine. Obviously a bit of a cliche, but having to endure the start that we've had to endure in the past few weeks to get a clean sheet at any division, or sorry, at any club in this division is good news. So yeah, we can't complain about that. I think personally there was a few shouts for man of the match yesterday, so I reckon we have a little bit of a think about it. Currently 99 people watching the episode live, so thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'd be grateful if you would be kind enough, of course, to put your man of the match in the comment section. We'll be sure to bring them to view and discuss as well as everybody else's. But Ben, I'll start with you. Who was your man of the match after yesterday's game against Crawley Town?
Yeah, I'm glad you shouted out both fullbacks because Shearn has got a lot of credit, but I thought Dacres Coggy was good as well, and he basically never gets any credit. So, Shearn was excellent. I thought the back three were good. Santos, I don't think you let Will Swan basically have the ball all game. I thought midfield Shearn was quiet, but still effective. I mean, the corner was great. Something new out of the set piece routines. Nice.
Did you notice the shouts in the background when he was taking it?
Yeah. Did he shout? Sabi, go get it.
Yeah. So when Sheehan picked the ball up to take the corner, you could hear Ian Ebbett shouting, "Shabby, go take it," or "Shabby, go get it." And subsequently, he took every corner after that, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they were talking about it being a straight off the training ground.
Maybe it's intentional. Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, but great goal. Sorry, go on, mate. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're right. Dempsey, I think, will be one that plays most away games, to be honest, because I think he gives that fight and energy to the midfield. And yeah, I mean, he's always a goal threat. He could have had two. He was great. I thought Charles was really good first half. Again, raced away a couple of times and had made two really good chances for himself. Baxter quite didn't have much to do. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Shearn because I tweeted it yesterday. Junior Katerna is going to cause a lot of fullbacks some problems this season, I feel like. He looks a really, really good technical player, quite tricky. And basically only got the better of him a couple of times throughout the game.
Yeah.
You could tell their game plan was play it around and then give it Katerna and he'll do something at some point. And Shearn kept him pretty quiet. And then, I mean, for the second goal, it was just the determination to keep the ball in and then to not just kind of turn back and keep the ball. That's what we did a lot yesterday. We didn't turn back and keep the ball for possession's sake. We were direct with it. And just great for that second goal. But I'm going to go. His best game.
Yeah, you touched upon the determination. I think what did we score with 10 minutes to go, something like that?
Yeah.
So he'd been up and down that wing, Sean, for the best part of 80 minutes, and obviously to have that energy as well to get down that line and make that goal. Essentially, I think he probably did make that goal. Deserves a lot of credit. Chris, what about your man of the match from yesterday, please?
I give it to Rico personally. Obviously, it's been turbulent times. He's had a lot to contend with. His form has been polite, indifferent. Some would say other words. That's probably why we're in this position right now. But I just thought he was outstanding yesterday. He never looked troubled. Back to his solid best. I think the only thing that was missing from his game, and I don't know the dimensions of Crawley's pitch, but those long diagonal balls that he'll play to the wing backs, we've not seen enough of that for a while now.
He scored as well, didn't he?
Say again.
He scored.
Oh, that header. Yeah. So, credit where credit's due. He had an excellent performance yesterday. So my man of the match is Ricardo Santos.
Yeah, fair. I very, very nearly give it to Santos myself, actually. But I have to shout out Josh Dacres-Cogley for me, our right wing back. I thought when you consider, and it's been touched upon already by somebody in the chat, I think it might be Alex Lecter, exactly that. Yeah, so the shift he put in against Arsenal, against arguably the country, if not Europe's best wingers, and then to put in a performance like that against Crawley, again, we've got good wingers, and you're up and down that right side, and he doesn't ever really get any credit whatsoever. I like him personally. He's a 7 out of 6. Most of the time, he's pretty consistent in his performances. He's not perfect by any stretch, but he certainly could do a lot worse, I think, at the level. So yeah, I think he deserves a lot of kudos for yesterday's performance. Certainly, like I said, certainly on the back of the Arsenal game. So we've got a split in, obviously, our decision, Sean, Santos and Cogley. So what I'm going to do is essentially go off the members. So the last members comment, they get to decide who the man of the match was. So we've got a few members in the chat tonight. If you have said your comment already, Say it again, and of course I'll bring it up, and you can have the decisive vote on the man of the match. Bit of a break from the norm here. I've not run this past HR, so I might get a fine.
Yeah.
I might get a written warning, but I think it's the nice thing to do, considering that you contribute, additionally to a wonderful podcast. So whoever it is, be it Brandon, be it whoever else who is in the chat who's a member, then they can have the deciding vote.
Here we go. Right, hang on. Just one sec. You're coming in now.
Just while we wait on Dacres Cogley, I genuinely can't remember a footballer for us who must be as fit as he is. He plays every single game, like 90 minutes as well, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, say what you want about his ability, whatever. If you think he's crap, you think he's good. He's fit at every minute. It's mad.
Yeah.
Never needs a rest. As you say, you got run ragged by Sterling on Wednesday night, and then less than 3 days later, puts in 90 minutes
Exactly.
again.
Yeah. So I think David won the vote shout because he was thinking it was the first one when I signaled go, following my non-HR confirms decision to give it to the members. So yeah, we'll give it to Rico Santos, man of the match, after yesterday's performance. So we'll be sure to reference David in our graphic. I think, Chris, what do you think of that? Good idea.
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
as a member.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Right, okay. So we've got, of course, another massive game on Tuesday evening. Kudos to any of you that are going on Tuesday. And if you've done all three, I mean, absolute heroes. But of course, we've got the resident Statman to give us a bit of a lowdown on how the game should go, probably, most likely, against Northampton Town.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Get Stat On with said Statman himself, Statman Foy, if you like. No, I'm only taking a bit. Sponsored by General Louise Salmon, thank you very much for that. And another win, hey, I mean, are you actually starting to play football now? I mean, that would be somewhat short of a miracle, you could say. But no, it was a decent game, to be fair, and a good win. But this will be quite a different game from that, because you're playing Northampton on Tuesday night in the league. They are no mugs, by the way. They've drawn with Barnsley, only just lost to Wickham, and they beat Huddersfield. So they've got something about them. They average about a goal a game, 1.1 goals per game. So yeah, literally a goal a game. 47.2 possession of the ball on average as well. So very different to Crawley. You will probably dominate the ball. Whether that suits you or not is still yet to be figured out because of the mess that was the start of the season. But anyway, they're quite clinical. They've only created 8 big chances and they missed 4. That sounds like quite a lot, but only missing 4 means they're the second best in the league for least chances missed, or least big chances missed anyway. So that's pretty good. They play a 4-4-2. So that, they're not gonna press high and they're not gonna sit off. It's built for a mid block. They're just gonna sit in the middle of the pitch and force you wide, basically. And in the same tone, they don't really press. And when they do, they're not great at it. Apart from in the Huddersfield game, when they literally just forced Huddersfield to pass it into their own goal, which is a very funny clip that I invite you to watch if you've not seen it already. They've also conceded the third most XG in the league. So, you don't have to get your shots off from distance. You should be able to work it quite well and create a good chance that, in theory, you should be able to score from. And now we've got a whole bunch of screenshots today. I mean, this is exciting times on the Statman segment because we've got 5. I mean, that is a different level. So, number 1 on screen now. This is from the game against Mansfield, and you can see the 2 strikers in the box in yellow. There's no one looking at them, no one's marking them, and it kind of looks like one of them's in between the 2 centre backs, and they've not talked, so no one's marking him. And the other guy, the fullback's just let go. Screenshot 2 on screen now. Both strikers have pulled off the defenders, so they're both open, and the number 11, which is the pretty sure it's the guy with the blonde there, if you can't tell, the guy who scores. There's no one anywhere near him, and he does score because he's allowed to have a run up and gets an easy header, and he's always going to have the momentum because he had the run up and the centre backs just stood still. So their centre backs are a bit dodgy, is what I'm trying to say. They don't they ball watch, which is the same with a lot of teams, to be fair. But yeah, screenshot 3. I know what this is, mental. This is from the Huddersfield game, and the winger's got the ball, and the fullback, the right back, is just he's basically walking. This is like when you go on the treadmill and you turn it up to 2, just so you feel like you're moving. Like, he should be sprinting at him, trying to get over, but he's barely jogging, and he lets him go too far, basically. Screenshot 4. Now, he backs off way too much, and because he didn't get tight enough to him in the first place, and he allows him in the box, which makes it even harder for yourself because you can't put a tackle in. And there's too much risk, so I don't know why he didn't just run. But anyway, he's got way too much space, and if you're going to put a tackle in now, you risk giving away a penalty. So that was just stupid. And screenshot 5. Now, this is a lot of editing for the Statman. He's still not tight. He's miles away from him. He's showing him the goal, and he lets him get a shot off without even putting a tackle in or anything. And he does score. I mean, it doesn't matter in the end because they win 3-1, but still, that is dreadful. So what I'd be saying is play Collins on the left of the... If you're keeping the front 2, that's all right. Just play Collins on the left of the front 2. And I'd be tempted, this is a bit ballsy, to put OC Tutu in a left wing back. And he has done that before. He's even played left wing before. So it would be somewhat interesting. And I give Sean, if that's how you say his name, a much needed rest because he had played a lot of football. But yeah, that would be my advice. Attack the right back because he's crap, and the centre backs couldn't mark it on the spelling test, to quote a famous social media presence. But we won't go any more than that. Enjoy the rest of the podcast, and see you next time.
Interesting stuff. Thank you as ever, Callum, for the breakdown. Really appreciate that. I think there was a few things to think about, I guess, from that. The width being one thing, and the fact that they don't seem to be very good defending from the wide areas. So I think there might be a game for Randall Williams. What are your thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I like Randall. He can go on both feet. So as you see in the clip with Koroma, they're cutting inside onto the right back. It might be the play, and it's going to be a completely different test from Saturday. They're not going to have 65% of the ball. Well, I'll be very surprised if they do. It's going to be a different test. It's going to be tough if they're going to sit in a mid block, really, because it depends who plays. As he said, I think I would not be surprised if Collins plays or McAtee. To be honest, I'd go towards Collins though, because he's more used to playing in that front 2, from last season. I wouldn't be surprised if you give Charles a rest. It's going to be interesting, as he said, because it's a different challenge. And look, we've been praising the Plan B yesterday, but maybe that was just Crawley playing the way they play and keeping all the ball, and that's the only time we're going to see it. I don't know. It might be I think it was as we said before, it was a perfect game to test it out. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's going to be different. I assume we'll dominate the ball. And let's hope we don't get stuck in a rut like we did against Exeter and Charlton and basically do nothing with it.
Yeah. Whilst we're talking about the Northampton game, Ben, and whilst we're with you, what's the lowdown ahead of the game on Tuesday as far as the Fanzone pod's concerned?
Yes, we have a preview tomorrow night. It's the first Monday night preview this season, I think. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, we had a Wednesday lunchtime one last week. First one, and we've done one of them. Monday evening. Monday evening tomorrow night with Cobblers to Me. And then on Thursday, maybe Salopcast needs to get back to you on that. But yeah, we'll have someone sorted for Thursday.
But yeah, definitely for the Northampton game, we've got it's all Cobblers to Me, haven't we, tomorrow night? So looking forward to that. Shall we bring some tweets up? Or some post X's? Why not, eh? Let's poke a bit of fun at them lot down the road for a wonderful performance this afternoon. Some glum faces that you can see on screen right now. For those listening back on audio, that is Manchester United fans sat in pure dismay following the humbling against Tottenham Hotspur. I thought that was worth doing, shall we say. A few posts I want to bring to people's attention today that I've seen in recent days. I want to start with Passion Not Fashion by Pablo Fuentes, I think is the correct pronunciation. A Spanish Bolton Wanderers fan that was present at the Emirates on Wednesday evening. One of the best bits of video was to meet Ian, which is a veteran Bolton fan, according to him, who explains the perfection of what it means to be a Bolton fan and also a hometown football team. If you've not seen Pablo's video, it is available on YouTube. I would highly recommend it as an alternative from the norm if you're into that type of stuff, especially being I think, is he Spanish, Chris? Have you seen the video? Is that right?
I have, yeah. No, I'm going to say it's definitely a Spanish accent, but whether he's Spanish, what have I got in here? I
apologise if he is Spanish. He may very well be Argentinian. I'm not quite sure.
Bear with.
But either way, whilst Chris is finding out for definite, if you've not seen it, jump on it. It's a good video. Gives you a different perspective, I think. He
is Spanish.
Yeah, it's a good one. Spanish Bolton fan, what's not to love? What is not to love? Mark has posted about the Telford pitch in the last couple of days, so that was quite funny. So Telford, if you don't know, the non-league side got struck by severe flooding in recent days, and their entire pitch was underwater. So Mark decided to say that it's still better than the time that we played Plymouth, which to this day, I mean, I have no idea why that game didn't get called off. No idea. But
I'm convinced that it got really bad sort of last 20 minutes, didn't it? And I'm convinced if they weren't already 2-0 up and kind of the game was over, like if that was 0-0 at that point, I think they would have called it off. But I think
probably.
I think it was 2-0. They were sort of like top six, we were bottom half. It was like, we're probably just gonna lose anyway. So carry it on. That third goal was still the funniest goal.
I was gonna say we'd never have seen that.
That's one. We're permanent.
Baps and Brockbank.
Yeah, we're a permanent. What's the meme, aren't we? No, with that, unfortunately. One of the, not I'll say serious point of reference was Ryan's post. He posted about the Sky Sports Plus deal. He said, "What's the point in this Sky Sports Plus deal? The inconvenience fans. There's no studio, no punditry, and one rubbish commentator. I'm convinced there's no one wanting to watch the game against Bolton and Crawley, should I say, other than Bolton and Crawley fans. And it's a strange one. What are your thoughts on that, Chris? Obviously, me and you and a lot of other Bolton fans are regular away day goers. What's your opinion on this Sky Sports Plus deal? Because for me, yesterday was the first time that I'd sat there and watched it. Keen to get your thoughts.
Yeah, you've got to weigh it up. It is. I mean, 12 at Crawley it just makes no sense whatsoever from a supporter perspective. I mean, we were left 5,000 on yesterday. Excuse me, over 1,000 Bolton fans, which is just phenomenal. But on the flip side of that, financially, I mean, obviously, we're talking about addressing or redressing the balance and getting things more sort of equal in terms of financial distribution and the pyramid and trying to add back to something like. So it's a really, really difficult one. But I mean, the commentator was absolutely dreadful. It reminds me, I mean, considering it's a Sky subscription product, I mean, it's free with your subscription, you're not paying extra, but it feels very much like iFollow. It buffers it. The commentaries, I think the commentary on iFollow is better personally. That's how bad it is. It's a really, considering it's Sky.
You hope for more, didn't you?
Yeah, like it's been cobbled together, which is so uncharacteristic of Sky, considering the size of the organisation. So yeah, it was, but
what were you going to say, Ben?
Just saying, it seems kind of like an inconvenience. Like they've been told they have to do it, and they've chucked someone random on it last minute, like graphics and stuff. I don't know. It just seems a bit not really. Look, I'm willing to see if in 3 years' time, all the EFL clubs are a lot richer, and we can compete with the Premier League teams. Maybe it's a good thing, but I just don't get it. I don't understand from Sky Sports' perspective what they're getting out from it. I genuinely don't get it. Like when I think there was like 7 games on at 12:30 on Saturday, and 95% of the people are going to be watching City Newcastle, unless you're an EFL fan. So already 95% of the money is going to TNT. So I don't know where. I don't know. I don't get it. But
maybe there's an element of it's a pilot season. Who knows?
Yeah, of course. Feels like that as well.
And I'm not sure whether you're going to touch upon this, Chris, in the fan focus, but I wanted to bring everyone's attention to a post that JD, also known as Jimbo_BWFC, has put. People mourn when we dominate with 70% possession, but can't take our chances and can see cheap goals, and then we can't win ugly. Today we were clinical, took our chances, 30% possession, soaked up opposition, and kept it a clean sheet. Some folk mourning FFS. I'll let you say that yourselves at home. But a good away win. What are your thoughts on that? Are we going to touch upon that in the fan folk? Shall we save that, Chris? I just thought it was an interesting...
you know what? There's one topic which has basically covered the whole of fan focus this evening, and it isn't that. So we might want to touch on it a little bit, because it's just so rammed with one thing, which I'm sure you can guess what it is.
Yeah.
So
I think you could basically cut off that tweet after 2 words, put #BDFC, and then post it every single day. People moan.
Yeah.
And
you can't, what's the phrase? You can please some of the people, whatever, all the time. Whatever. That phrase. That is very, very relevant to that. You're always going to get mixed emotions and mixed sort of feelings about how we're setting up and what we're doing and blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of it is down to the fact that we are literally trying to regress to how we were pre-Plan A 2.0. God, it's like Pythagoras, isn't it, this? But I think you take my point. You know what I mean? We've tried something new. It didn't work. We're trying to revert back to what worked, and it's a process. And Abid has asked, "Is Colin still ever out?" I think I know the answer to that. Colin?
Because I don't think I'm not convinced that he's the man to take us forward after what we've had to endure start of this season, and I think that we should have made a change after Wembley, and we should have made a change after the other week, after his comments, passion or not, or whatever people were saying that his opinions were on overzealous, too passionate, or whatever it might have been. You can't be like that when you manage a football club like us, because it's likely to rear its ugly head again. When things don't go well, and it's how you manage it. Yes, he's learning, but have we got time to learn? I, for one, don't want to be in this division forever. I'm sick to death of it, and I want a manager to be able to get us out of it. So, for me, he needs to win the next 3 games, and then I might change my opinion. I'm not letting two victories change my opinion of the situation just yet.
Playing devil's advocate, what happens when if it goes back to where it was?
What? Well, I'm sure I've not answered that.
Where it was this season or last season, you mean?
No, this season, i.e. this poor start. So, you just said that you would change your opinion if he wins his next 3 games, but in the subsequent 2 games after those 3...
Right, well, I just think if we win the next 3 games, we'll have won 5 on the bounce, won't we? So the chances are, obviously, the confidence is flying, and we can start to build on that and be in and around where we should be. given the fact that we're the second most highest spenders in the league. He's got a long way to go for me. He's got a lot of bridges to build after them comments of the week and started to trying to blame the fans for shocking performances. I know there's something else there, but we're not that podcast.
I think that's fair enough.
I'm sure I'm not on my own.
You can't be ever out 2 weeks ago and be ever in now. I don't
No,
know.
absolutely. No.
Listen, it's not about Ian Evatt, though. It's not about the players. It's about the football club. I will always support this football club regardless. Whatever players are in situ, whatever managers in situ, is what it is. It's about the club for me. They're just very, 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 very lucky to be here, a lot of them. Especially when they start liking Bukayo Saka or Raheem Sterling's post after they just played them 12 hours later. But that's a conversation for another day. I don't think they realise what football club they play for sometimes. I think they need a reminder for me. And I'm getting annoyed again speaking about that now. So can we move on, please, if you don't mind. And do a bit of the old fan focus. Thank you. This segment, of course, is sponsored by Wooden Grounds. Of course, Matt does a wonderful job with his creative work, doesn't he, Chris?
Indeed, he does. And he's an avid listener as well, / viewer. So
he absolutely is. And if you are thinking, of course, of planning ahead when it comes to Christmas, then that could be a pretty good gift.
It's getting towards that time of year. I think it's worth mentioning as well that we do operate a Fanzone podcast discount with Matt as well. So if you are interested in his products, then that's to consider. So
really good stuff. Speaking of avid listeners, of course, the whole episode is sponsored by Eco Warm Windows, our principal sponsor. So thank you very much for the support. Chris, of course, he is an avid listener. I'm sure he'll be listening back, if not listening live this evening. So thank you very much for your ongoing support. Chris, speaking of Chris, take it away.
There we go. Brandon's done my job. Brandon says he's always the Ricardo Santos segment always been my favourite, and that is very much what Fan Focus is tonight. David,
is that the elephant that I was speaking to earlier, Chris?
Yeah, very much so. As David Green refers to it as Rico Gate. I don't want to make it about one player, but I just want to say that how do I word this without sounding like favoritism? Because let's be realistic. No player is without criticism if it's justified. I don't think that his performances have been to his high standards recently, and that's all I will say. However, perfect, thank you. There is always one who seems to be the centre of the fans' frustration, and it seems that it's Rico's turn.
Two, if you count Cogley as well, because he's another one, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. You did say that the score would be 2-0, but you said to Crawley, what did you say to you? New manager bounce or something, yeah?
Oh, he's cute, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm glad he's here again.
I love him. I love having him around. However, to the point in question, this seems to have initially been triggered by the lack of recognition towards the supporters in terms of the lap of honour, if you want to call it that, and basically walking down the tunnel when the game ends, when the rest of the players are clapping the supporters. That seems to have triggered it. However, what seems, and I'm not going to go into semantics, he said, she said, his missus has going on about food in the fridge and da da da. I'm not going down that route because, for one, it's on Facebook, and that says it all, really. People's dirty laundry should not be aired in public like that, which is a two-way thing. So Ian said Ricardo Santos' wife can say whatever Ricardo Santos' wife wants. It's a bit of a tongue twister that wants to say on Ricardo Santos' wife's Facebook page, with or without Ricardo Santos' consent. So which is a very valid point. It's just one of those, isn't it? If you chuck your hat into the ring into conversations like that, it's always going to end up one way, unfortunately. Whether we like it or not, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But it's always going to end up in a two-way slanging match, especially if it's on Facebook. It's not great. It's not a great look. Dan Berry asks, is it tin pot? I think some people would describe it as that. I just don't think it's very professional from all concerned. However, she's his wife. She's a person who he goes home to at the end of every day, who understands him better than we all do. So it's such a tricky one. I mean, if you cast your mind back to probably, about 12 months ago when we had Elias Kachunga on the pod, he was victim to a lot of abuse online, which he openly spoke about. It's not great. And then to counter that argument, it's part of the game. If you think about, and I'm going off at a tangent here, but you think about the abuse that Rashford, Saka, et al. Received post Wembley, you know what I mean? It's a really, really tough one. For me, the way I'm seeing it, and this is again just to give it a bit of perception and a bit of put a different shade against it. He's just lost the captaincy. He's carrying on playing. His performances have improved. He goes out there, he does his job. He signs off on 90 minutes and walks down the tunnel. The rest of it, you can interpret it whichever way you want. And don't come at me with, but we've all paid good money to travel down there. Nobody's forced you to do it, and I do it. And
can I just add my 2 pence to that? We pay money to go and watch we pay money to go and watch our football team. We don't go pay money for a man to walk over and clap us. Like, it seems to have been, it's like a tradition thing that like everyone has to do it now, and if you don't, you're an absolute.
It's an obligation almost.
I don't get it. Like, come and clap us if you want to, and appreciate our support. He obviously doesn't appreciate what he's got from some fans, and fair enough. I think it's pretty fair. It's all stemmed from abuse he's got, even when he was good. Like, I mean, not saying he's not good anymore. I'm just saying he's had a bit of a patchy, 6 months or whatever. And to me, he turns up, he plays football for us. We pay him for that. And if he carries on playing like he does on Saturday, he can do whatever he wants after that. I don't care, mate. He can stand there, head the ball away all game, tackle all game, walk off, let everyone else clap the fans. Fine. He's just been stripped of captaincy. He gets abused non-stop on social media. So he's come off social media. He doesn't even see social media. So all it is just his wife. And can you imagine every night you go on, everyone does it. Every night we come home from work and we scroll through social media and all you see is your husband just getting slated like week in, week out. For not just slated saying you're a bad football player. It goes beyond that. And
that's the thing, isn't it? It isn't a critique.
No, it's not. That's the thing. Everyone says everyone is open to criticism. Of course they are. If you say, I don't think Santos is very good at passing the ball out, fair enough. You put, there's criticism and then there's abuse. And it just
feels like we've been here before, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With this.
Well, I was literally just going to touch upon the fact that this past couple of weeks has not shone our fans in a very good light, be it Santos's current situation, getting abuse and I saw a direct message from some pillock to his wife, and also Ian Evans' kids getting targeted when he was going through it. I mean, when you start bringing people's families into it, whether it's children, whether it's wives, whether it's girlfriends, it's absolutely pathetic, if you ask me. So I'm all on board with what you're saying, Ben.
That Jack Harrell point is a very, very good one, actually. So Jack says, I enjoy when they come over. And I think everybody does. It's, it's like, it's acknowledgement. It's somebody described it as a respect thing. And I get that. Of course, I get that. I've been going long enough to know what that's all about. But Jack says, I enjoy it when they come over, but if you spin it to a different concept, loads of people leave games early, etc. The players don't moan when they leave early, etc. No one cares. And then that will get spun to say that as a paying supporter, you've got a right to do that. You're on a very, very fine line with things like that. You've got to look at it. You've got to look at it in balance.
We're putting 2 and 2 together here and trying to get 4, but let's be honest. We might be off the mark with this in terms of his reasoning why.
Of course,
he might have him and his wife might have a lot of stuff going on a personal level. They might have an emergency, or he might need to get to his phone to check in on somebody, or you know what I mean. We don't know what's going on, do we? He might have a family member in hospital. You might want to get off the pitch quickly. Do you see what I'm saying? You just don't know, do you? End of the day, he's doing his job, innit? When it comes to it, I don't hang about when I finish work.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Close the laptop and forget about it. Everyone's different, aren't they?
I think as well.
Exactly. I don't go out clapping all my employees and stuff. I'm off.
Yeah, I think you've got to consider as well the experience or lack of experience. Obviously, he was at Peterborough, he was at Barnet, but obviously we're his longest sort of tenure, if you will. When it went bad previously, there were no fans there to voice their issues. I think we all know that if they were, we probably wouldn't have Ian Evatt as our manager right now. So people react in different ways to different situations. It's a really, really difficult one. And we don't know the facts, as Colin quite rightly said. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and there is an element of professionalism. That adage, "Leave your baggage at the door," and all that kind of stuff. It's not always that easy, especially when it's so overwhelming. I don't know.
Look, people say you can just ignore it and whatever. He's basically doing as much as he can to ignore it. He's deleted all his social media. He doesn't go near the fans. He runs off like when he can, and he still ended up getting it like from his wife and stuff. I don't know what more he can do really. Like come home and kiss everyone as he goes out. I don't know. I don't know what you want.
It's a tough one. Tough one. I mean, the chat just mirrors exactly how difficult it is. I don't know where to start with it. I mean, Louise, it's bang out of order, the abuse, but unfortunately it will always be there. This is something that I've said exactly the same thing, Louise, that it's part and parcel. But it's a very, very loud minority. Biting back publicly is only going to fuel these idiots. It will inevitably elicit a response. But I think, as Ben said, his way of dealing with it is by doing his job.
Yeah. And look, to me, I saw the post and that's like, it's not great, but like to me, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered by it because I know I'm not the type of person that is getting that response from Rico and his wife, because I'm not stood there abusing him all game or going on Twitter and saying stuff. So it doesn't bother me if she's having a go at the people that do abuse him. Good on her, in my opinion.
Yeah, but like it was touched on earlier by Ian, it's her obligation to do that. It's her account. It's not a club account. It's not an official account. It's her own account. So obviously somebody's going at her. So if she bites back, then yeah, play stupid games, get stupid prizes, don't you?
Yeah.
As you say.
And Leslie,
So,
you might be right. The best thing to do for him might be to have a break for a couple of games. But you can only imagine the reaction that would be. You can only imagine the reaction that would be. It's, oh, we're paying his wages every week and now he won't even play for us. So he can't win.
I disagree with that. He's already had the captaincy taken off him.
Yeah.
And he's had to readapt to that.
The best thing he can do is win football matches for his mates on the pitch.
Yeah.
The lads that he plays with.
Yeah, let his football do the talking.
If you don't want to win the football matches for us as fans, fair enough. If he's not happy, fine. But win it for your mates. The ones that you got to battle with on a 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. The ones that you train with day in, day out, week in, week out, your mates. That's who you go and win for. And that's what he's doing.
He'll get a nice pay rise when he goes up as well. So
yeah. What do you do when from this point onward? I mean, yesterday he's already had probably his game of the season. So what do you do when in 10 games time that vein of form continues? Do we still talk about it then?
Well, they'll still be the same few that will.
We've always had scapegoats, Chris, haven't we? As long as you've been, as long as I've been watching, I could give you a long list of scapegoats from over the years, and he is one of them.
Andy's just said he'll score on Saturday and I'll be forgotten. Look, I love the man to bits, but I think there's one thing that is safe, and that's Rico not scoring on Saturday.
Absolutely.
So it's not a pleasant thing to talk about, but I just think we just need, again, it goes back to the consistent message that we've tried to sort of give out on the pod, which is before you write something, certainly to a family member of a player. Well,
certainly not children, for crying out loud.
For one, don't.
Christ almighty.
If somebody messaged my kids,
yeah, you can only imagine what your reaction would be. Yeah, you've no idea, have you?
So let's not go there, shall we?
Yeah.
But it just feels like we're going around in circles. Louise again is bang on. He's this season's catcher. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Dan Berry mentioned earlier, Geth is injured, so he's out of the spotlight, so it's not him at the moment.
Yeah.
Catcher played well on Saturday, so he's not. I'm not catcher. Sorry, Cogley played well on Saturday.
And I've been critical of Cogley, but I wouldn't go on social media and tell him it's me. I'm paying your wages, mate. What are you playing at?
Exactly. We come on the podcast and say he wasn't very good today, and that's the end of it.
I think I mentioned this before, but there's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is all about people commenting on what people do. You might want to have a look at it because it's very, very relevant. You can clip that. And that is the end of this week's Fan Focus. Thank you to everybody. I mean, the response was massive. Ian Robot, Leslie Davis, Jack Cook, Brandon, Daniel, Tomo. Honestly, I'd be here all night, but most of you are in the chat anyway. Thank you to everybody who contributed. It's overwhelming always.
Just wanted to flag this up because I know we'll get to the end of it, we're running out of time, but hopefully Dan is enjoying his time in Crawley and at Cambridge, and Molly's having a great time at Wickham. I think I've seen a lot of posts since yesterday saying, "Oh, why did we let him go?" Whatever. But for the last 18 months, we've been saying Molly hasn't been kind of up to the standard, and I think the best thing for everyone was for him to go out on loan to another League One team, play week in, week out, and get his form back. If he comes back in January, back to the level he was, perfect.
Is it 6 or 12 month loan?
I think it is 12 months, but I would guess we have a recall.
You can always call him back. January.
Yeah. Sorry, just wanted to flag that up.
No, long may his performances improve, the better, really, isn't it? Like you say, I mean, it's important to remember with him. He signed a new contract, didn't he, not too long ago? So he's well under contract. So there's no issues on that front. Somebody asked about Rico. I think he is in his final year, along with many others.
Yeah.
We don't.
11 players, I believe, are in the final year.
A lot of big decisions.
Yeah. Thank you very, very, very much to the 154 people who've watched the episode live tonight across the platforms, as I like to say. We are back tomorrow with a preview episode ahead of the Northampton game. As I said earlier, if you are going to Northampton on Tuesday, I think you deserve a lot of credit. I think me and Chris, we're debating it, are we, Chris? And ahhing?
Debating it, yeah. I think I will have a definitive answer when I've spoken to. No, I better not say it on here. Yeah,
the boss.
I'll speak to my boss tomorrow.
Yeah. No, but joking apart, well done to all of you who followed the Wanderers up and down the country this past week. You have a lot of credit. It's a lot of money, a lot of miles, a lot of time, a lot of effort. You deserve a lot of respect. So well done. Just make sure you back the boys as you continue to do so on the stands and the terraces. Thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. We greatly appreciate your time. And as the saying goes, come on, you whites.